And this time making sure my microphone is actually turned on. Welcome back to the next episode of After the Split, everybody. If you don't already know, this is a deep dive interview show going into the lives of speedrunners. And hey, recently we've separated onto our own channel on YouTube. So with that, I would love if anybody that's available could go give that a subscription once it gets to 100, which unfortunately I already did this to push on main channel, but here we go again. Once we get to 100, I will do a self-done episode, which could only be a little weird, but maybe you want to know something about me.
Would you be like interviewing yourself or like?
I have like pre-done questions.
Okay, all right.
But yeah,
it's like a Q&A.
After
like
the Split is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find your audio forms. So check it out if you like that. This episode is live and featured on the front page of speedrun.com, so thank you guys for that. If you come in late and you want to check out the rest of this episode later, it will be on all those platforms in a week. Now, with me this week, I have the lovely moderator of the Spyro HD and original, DylanJayFox. How are you doing?
What's up, gamer? I'm chilling. Having a good day. It's a beautiful day outside. Woke up like an hour ago, so I'm feeling that.
Same. Now, this is it's kind of a long time coming. I've talked to you a long time ago, like, oh yeah, definitely. And I said I wanted to, let's get away from Spyro runners for just a little bit. But you know, it'd been too long. I was like, screw it. I'm getting the boys on. Got Hammer in last week. I'm excited to have you in this week.
Check out the Hammer episode if you haven't already. I watched 20 minutes of it so far. Very good. Very, very good.
Yeah, it was definitely is a longer one for sure.
Yeah.
Especially for a pre-recorded, but we just kind of got going. I'm into it.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's like when you're with the boys. You know, you just keep talking. Have to have those chats.
Now, if you kind of had to describe yourself real quick, what is it that you're doing in content scene right now?
In content scene, like speedrunning wise?
Just in general. I mean, obviously we'll get into it deeper, but you're definitely known for more than just going live on Twitch.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of what I do outside of here is I upload videos to my YouTube channel called DylanJayFox, same name. I make like anime related content right now. I'm doing kind of short videos, like I think they're called they're TikTok style, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like 60 seconds or something, and it's like a fact video about my hero. And I've been doing YouTube on and off for the last like however long, like 2-3 years or something. I go live on Twitch and I speedrun Spyro. That should be pretty obvious based off the introduction Gaffey gave. And outside of like the internet, I really like to immerse myself in the world of pro wrestling. It's something I am immeasurably proud of. Is just the world of it and my so far like kind of career I'm kind of working towards in it. That's mostly what I'm doing content wise outside of speedrunning though.
Which, yeah, just in a nutshell, we'll dive deeper into those sort of things. Now, of course, I always like to start off because it just is interesting to me. So how did you wind up with the name DylanJayFox?
All right, so this is a crazy one, right? My first name is Dylan.
Crazy?
That's pretty shocking.
Okay.
That's pretty shocking. My middle name, you're not going to be able to guess what it is. I can guarantee it. Go ahead, try.
Matthew.
Close. Jay. And my last name legally is not Fox.
Fox?
But I think it flows together. It flows together really well. My last name legally is not Fox. Obviously, I wouldn't make my real last name my last name for pretty obvious reasons.
Yeah, who does that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just not the vibe. I just think it came well together. I want to say I just like. I don't really like foxes in particular, but I just think the name Fox rolls off really well.
It does.
Like,
I'll give you that for sure.
It's like a one snap type thing, and I really like that. That's probably how I came to it. Yeah.
And do you like it still, or do you kind of wish you changed it?
The best username I've had.
Oh, that's good.
I'll say that one. Old Xbox Live gamer tags, bro. We had the Game Changer. Oh boy.
That was the gamer tag, the Game Changer.
Yeah, that was actually the original name on the channel.
That's actually kind of sick.
Game Changer 24, bro. I don't know. I didn't actually have to add numbers. The Game Changer was available, but I liked numbers at the end.
No way, you added numbers by choice? Oh.
I was like 11 at the time, bro.
The
I was like
Game
11.
Changer 99.
Dude, the Game Changer by itself is like banger name if like
Yeah.
you're a gaming YouTuber. But like when I was a little kid, I'm like, but 24 is just sounds cooler.
Wait, why 24? Just so you're like, that's a
I
good
don't
number,
know.
a good solid number.
Genuinely, I was like, this is a good number. Like, in hindsight, it probably would have been the Game Changer 69.
Of
You know?
course, yeah. You would have hit that
Yeah,
at 14. 12-year-old, you messed up.
exactly.
And
Um,
just as a quick kind of introduction to the format for today, and I'm hoping that you're okay with this as well, I figure
yeah,
we'll do our show for about hour and a half and then open up the floor to Twitch chat for questions.
okay. I'll go with that.
Sweet. Now, kind of get us into how you got into the scene, I guess. Like, how old are you now?
24. I had to think about it.
And so have you already gone to college, or did you even go? What's kind of your,
Yeah.
where are you at in
Um,
life? You at your own place?
so I currently live with my parents. I'm working on actually getting a place with a friend, hopefully by this fall. Just because I feel weirdly anxious about the idea of like living on my own, just full out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would always need a roommate just because I'm not like I don't need companionship, but like it really helps me get through the day if I can see somebody and talk to them physically.
Oh, for
Like
sure. It's real easy to
obviously,
kind of
like
box yourself in.
yeah. Especially with like how boxed in we were for a while with the pandemic and stuff like that. Like I've really grown to appreciate just having like people physically in my vicinity to talk to.
So you're moving in with
Um,
me, right?
yeah, I'm moving to Cincinnati with GaffeyTaffy. Uh, oh, I can't say that, can I?
No, you can. I'm pretty public
I could
about
have
it.
sworn you
I
said
think
that
it's in
on
my
it. Yeah,
bio even. Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say.
Dare someone to come find me.
I'm on my way.
I'll have
Uh,
Dylan to wrestle you.
true. Um, but no, as far as it goes with like me getting into speedrunning, for a long time I was a really casual speedrunner, streamer on Twitch, right? I would do games like Jackbox Party Pack, Slime Rancher, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even Reignite Trilogy when it first came out, right?
Oh, did you?
And
You're like just playing the game casually on console?
yeah, I probably played through the games 100% at least 4 or 5 times on stream before I started speedrunning. Like
Mm-hmm.
all three in the trilogy. Just 'cause I love the games that much. Um, but no, when I was like a more casual streamer, right? I met up with somebody named Kieran SR, who you
I've
actually
heard
at
of
the
this
time he
guy
was
a
yeah, you
time or
might have heard
two.
of him. Um, at the time he was Ergka Jr. or Ergka Jun, whatever their name
Mm-hmm.
actually was. Um, and I noted that they streamed too, so I'm like, oh, what do you stream? They were doing like Mario Bros. Wii or whatever it is at the time, Super Mario Bros. Wii. And over time, we kind of grew to being really good friends. And I was like, that speedrunning thing looks really fun. I kind of want to try it sometime, but I just don't know where to start. So really, where I started was like with them in a call, trying to guide me through how to speedrun Reignited, despite having never played the game themselves.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty funny, and slowly but surely, I mean, the first day I speedran, I will say it was like the biggest make it or break it moment for me with the hobby, because I hated it. I absolutely hated it because there was one trick I just couldn't do, and it was height cap. Um, it was really fun getting past that point though, because my first speedrun was an hour and 30 minutes or something in that game, and an hour of that was height cap. No,
Dang.
I hit first try level storage, and I was pogging, but that height cap was painful.
It is a weird one.
Um,
Definitely, I mean, I've learned it myself. It's a bit of a doozy. Once
I
you
was
get it,
just
you
doing
kind
it
of get
wrong.
it, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, but no, that's basically where I started, and then from there, I mean, got more involved with the community, got more involved with the games. Really played Reignited for probably my whole first year, just because it was my bread and butter. It was my first speed game. I didn't want to leave it quite yet, and yeah, that's basically how I got started.
You have a unique perspective, because I feel like a lot of people kind of get into running just by like, oh, that's why they started streaming too. So
Hmm.
whatever made you want to be like, I'm gonna go do things on Twitch? Because it can be intimidating unless you're already like involved with a scene of some sort. I feel like most people aren't like, oh, I want to be the person that goes live.
When it comes to just purely streaming, when I first started, it's kind of hard to recollect completely.
How old were
Uh,
you? Like, how long ago was this?
2014 or 2015. So
Okay, the hot minute. You've seen the changes for sure.
how old was I? God, that's so hard to even think about. I'm so bad at math. I was 16 or something. I was 16 or 17.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the real reason why like I started with it just in general was down to the fact that like I kind of wanted something to do that was like YouTube but different. Because
Yeah.
I did gaming videos for like a little while when I was younger.
Oh, please tell
And
me, do they still exist?
um I hate to say it and I hate that I did this, but I did delete them. They're not even unlisted, and it makes me
Oh,
so sad. It makes me so sad because there were so many that like I actually really loved. It was just like, man, I don't want to watch these. I was cringe and like a child. But now it's like I wish I could look back at them just for the sake of like seeing that younger self and stuff.
I
Um
1,000,000% would also have at least unlisted, but probably
yeah.
deleted. But man, I love to see people's like growth and stuff like that. Even
Mhm.
just last night, someone pulled up a video from like 2012. I'm like, yes, this is so cringe. It's so wonderful in every
I do
way.
have, like, some videos that, like, are kind of from that era,
Mm-hmm.
but that were, like, posted on, like, other channels or on my Google Drive, which I can show you at some point, but,
Yes, insider
um,
scoop.
the most notable difference is, like, you can see how lanky I used to be and how skinny I used to be compared to now,
You know, you
and,
little
like,
skinny little guy.
I was so skinny, bro, it was crazy, like, nowadays, it's, like you can kinda see in my face, like, I'm not fat, but, like, I'm more, like, full, if that makes sense? Or, like, more filled out,
I
like
think
my arms too.
it's kind of surprised me because you almost had a total shift just since I've known you, where most of the time it's like, oh, he's a cool guy and he does his own things, but you've almost more publicly presented who you are, and so I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, he actually, I mean, you're in crazy good shape. I didn't know you had the long hair or anything like that, and just all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, you see that he's actually strong as hell. The wrestling thing is something you're super serious about, and so I guess the question is, I'm more just saying good for you, but
Yeah.
also what made you decide to change? Like, I'm gonna go for more like the I do runs. I've got you had your like the VTube avatar and
Mhm.
stuff to more like I want to present myself, because that's a big step, I think.
Um I think a lot of it, at least in like when I came back to Twitch, and that's actually what I will reference here when it comes to it. I stopped streaming for a while. This is gonna get like a little bit personal, just because uh it's a weirdly personal story. But I was streaming really consistently in like when I was a casual streamer, and I would go for like at least 6 hours a day every day of the week. Up until my grandmother came down really sick and unfortunately passed away. And I kind of like lost a lot of motivation because it made me feel like I wasn't spending as much time with like the people in my life, right? And I had to like find a balance with that, right? Um, to make myself like feel better as a streamer. And then fast forward a few years to when I started speedrunning, because that was probably in 2017 or 2018. 2017, I think it was, yeah. Um, I reached this point where I'm like, man, I used to stream and like love doing this all the time
Mm-hmm.
because like there was a point where like I actually genuinely like loved clicking the live button and interacting with people. Um, I was doing pretty good like numerically too. Not to like toot my own horn here, but I was on a pretty steady path to partner. Um, but in general, like after that happened, I kind of came back after a few weeks and like I just wasn't feeling it. Viewers dropped off and stuff like that. It felt like I wasn't like anywhere near the level of motivation. But then when I started speedrunning, I didn't really want to show my face as much because after my grandmother did pass away, that's actually when I did put on a lot of weight. Um, like if you go back and like look at my older clips, like you can see how much skinnier I used to be. Um, but like after that, I kind of started eating kind of stress wise and other stuff. Um, and I reached this point where I just didn't want to like put my face on Twitch or like put my face on videos even.
Yeah.
Um, because I just felt like not like ashamed, but I didn't like the way I looked. Um, and the whole like VTuber thing that I added was kind of a way for me to like kind of slowly transition myself into that.
Mm-hmm.
Without like going all in. And then, more recently I've been doing face cam on stream and stuff like that and just trying to like feel better about how I look and like be willing to present myself physically. Um, and kind of learn to love that a bit more. Um, yeah, that's probably about it with that.
I mean,
Hopefully that
that's
answers the
awesome.
question.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I think we all kind of, I mean, maybe I'll just say me, I personally, I've already, and I've been doing it a lot less or a lot shorter of a time, but I've experienced that same like I just don't feel that drive anymore. And it's definitely because you have to have a plan for some. I mean, sometimes you can just, all right, I'm gonna do runs, I'm gonna press live, whatever, on off. But even at that, you're looking at 3 hours of your time. So I felt that I wasn't valuing my personal relationships, like,
Mhm.
and so when there's not a real end goal or payoff or just immediate gratification, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, why am I doing this anyway? And because it changes. I think the longer
Yeah.
you do it, you're like, okay, you start off like this is just kind of fun. It's a good hobby, and then
Mhm.
you, we're terrible. Our minds are terrible. We always want more,
Yeah.
which is
It is,
great,
and
but it's
like it is
terrible.
that.
Yeah.
I think it's a mentality thing too, because you
Mm-hmm.
have like you always want to be better than you are right now, or like you always want to improve on what you have right now. And that's obviously like good for a number of reasons, but like having that mentality in particular means that you're never satisfied. Um, which is like kind of why I felt like I stopped in the first place with like the casual stuff, because I saw that drop off after all the work I put in. It was like it was like an additional gut punch in addition to like the other
Yeah.
stuff going on. And it was like, man, why am I even doing this if it's like I take like 2 weeks off to like, feel myself and like kind of figure stuff out in my head and like get myself in a better mental place, and then, I'm looking at 50% of what I had. Um it was definitely a lot of that type feeling where it's like, man, I just wanted to be better than it is right now. And I could have just appreciated like what I still had, because I was still like averaging like 30, 35 viewers or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't bad by any means. Like that's a good
Yeah, for sure.
um um it just grew into this point of like pure dissatisfaction for me. And then obviously I just completely left the hobby for a while. And then as speedrunning came along, kind of came back into it. Mostly
Well,
honestly, because I didn't want to just record and upload them privately to
yeah,
YouTube.
there's something
Because
about
it's
that
just so
doesn't
much
feel
more work.
right. Also, a
Yeah.
lot of work.
It's a lot more work.
I didn't have the hard drive space when I first started. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is several gigabytes of video every time. No thanks.
Mhm.
But it seems like you definitely have outlets to kind of express the things that you're interested in, especially I think of like the wrestling, and you have the game stuff collection in your background and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's awesome for sure. Now, how is, because you live with your family, right? Are they cool? They're like, oh yeah, we enjoy this, or they're just like, he does a thing. I don't know anything about it.
Like speedrunning, you mean?
Yeah, just in general. I mean, obviously the YouTube is it's not small by any means.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so like my family doesn't really know a lot about what I do
Mm-hmm.
outside of like they know I'm on Twitch. They don't know like I speedrun really. I tell my mom I play Spyro still, because when I was a little kid, one of my like most vivid memories is like we would play Spyro together, like me and my mom,
Oh.
and she'd always take the controller on like parts where I couldn't do it. And I was like this small like little baby. I couldn't even do like the like little spirits challenge in Cloudy Spires. Um, and like she knows that. My dad's like a lot less like in the know. He's like, oh, so it's like TV, and I'm like, not really. It's
Yeah,
like
no, yeah,
it's
no,
it's
yeah.
no. It's like I play video games and just kind of talk. Oh, so it's like a radio show. I'm like, no, dad, no, dad.
I haven't even
Um,
bothered trying to explain. I'm like, this is just my thing. I don't think.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And my
It's
parents
nice to
aren't
like
even
have like a
boomers
common
either. They're
ground.
just like,
So
yeah, it's not their thing.
yeah, yeah. And then YouTube, like, my mom knew I did gaming stuff, and I don't think I've really talked to her about it recently. I know at one point she was talking to me about like, oh, how much money are you making and stuff like that, and like, it's not a lot that I'm making, obviously, because my videos aren't like booming and I'm not getting brand deals and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Especially not right now because I'm kind of in flux on like uploading real videos or not. And when I say real videos, I mean like 10, 20 minute videos. Um, but she asked me about that. I'm like, it's not a lot. It's just not. Oh, so like, why are you doing it? I'm like, just because I like talking about anime. What's anime?
Oh,
Um,
and then you're going down the whole rabbit hole. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's like you remember that Pokemon show I used to watch? It's that. Yeah, that one. The Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff stuff like that. And just like, oh, okay. Um, they're like supportive of it. Like they always want me to like apply myself to what I'm doing and like make sure I'm giving it what I can, like as much as I can. Um, But the thing that they definitely are most supportive of, I would say, is like the wrestling, because that was something like we all connected on. My family was really big on wrestling when I was a little kid, so um, that's probably where our big point of like connection with my content is.
And are you trying to, I guess, dive into more of the like world of content creation and wrestling? Have that intermix?
I've actually recently been thinking about this a lot more. I don't know how to approach it is the biggest problem.
Yeah, yeah. It's a weird medium to try and cross for sure, I think.
hmm Especially with like what I'm doing currently, like it's just so alien to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've heard the term redneck anime applied to wrestling several times, which
You know what?
I
I like
kind of
that. I could see
I
it.
kind of get it, but
Uh-huh.
I don't think it would work quite the same on like my current channel, um, on YouTube in particular. And then there are different things like I could look to do. Like I could look at like the idea of like short form content with it. I think would be a good idea. Excuse me. Um, where like I could look at making it TikTok about like different sequences and like how
Mm-hmm.
the psychology of a match works here, and like what you missed in a match is like something like I thought of as an idea. Like what are like these little like moments that you don't think about while you're watching wrestling that are really like subliminal, but you like get it still. Because there's a lot of that in wrestling. Like even something as simple as like a guy holding his neck after like getting dropped on his head. Like that's the art of selling and stuff like that. And like kind of putting a light on that in like short form content, I think could be a good idea. Um, yeah, that's the only way I could really think to intermix them. I could do like a podcast too, but I everyone has a podcast nowadays,
I
and
know, God,
I
they give these platforms to anybody.
oh god, uh, no, really, I don't even think I could be a podcast host. I think I'm a little bit too scatterbrained to like focus in on a topic really, for any longer than a minute. So
Well, see, this is why I think it's so great. This is why I like the interview style. Is I don't know what to do, so I just make it about other people, and I'm like, great, this is content.
yeah, yeah, no, it works.
Now, I've never been like a huge professional wrestling fan myself. I didn't grow up with it, and I think that has a large part
Yeah,
to do with it. But the redneck anime thing stands out to me because like it seems to me like what keeps people coming back is the storylines, and that's something I can
yeah.
appreciate in anything. Like, granted, be it sports or esports, is like you want to see this storyline progress or whatever.
Yeah,
So
reach its conclusion whenever.
I can see that, and that's huge.
Yeah. The whole I forget I heard say it first, the Red Duck anime thing, but like it really is just about like looking at it from like the aspect of characters, and then the wrestling is essentially your top 10 most epic anime battles or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or and then you genuinely do have like betrayals in wrestling. Like it's a form of storytelling. Like it really is at its core fundamental, and that's what anime is as well. In its purest form, like even something as simple as Dragon Ball, like you have deep rooted stories with characters like Vegeta, where he goes through his like character arcs and stuff like that, or in wrestling, you have Shawn Michaels, for example, where his character arc from the beginning was like, I'm a really pretty boy, and I'm here with this other really pretty boy, but I'm the pretty boy, and I'm gonna kick him through glass to prove that I'm the prettier boy. And then he went on to become one of the biggest wrestlers in the world, through kind of making a really good change in his character and like growing,
So
So.
not to like basic it down, but
Mhm.
it does seem like, I mean, because you work full time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what's a day in the life of DylanJayFox like? Because I'm imagining you go to work full time. You have to stay working out and stuff like that to maintain the wrestling. But then is there like locals or something like that? Because I'm weirdly enough trying to relate this to like, oh hey, I know like on Wednesdays I have a schedule to do this. Is it like a group of people that are like, let's practice together or something?
I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. It seems like somebody has like a lawnmower out next
Oh, I
across the
didn't
street.
hear anything. You're all
Okay,
good.
good, good, good.
If you
I
could
just
yell
want to
at
make
them
sure you
real
can hear.
quick though, that would be
I
fun.
could, I could, I
Mm-hmm.
could. So day in the life of Dylan J. Fox, right? If it's a work day, I mean, obviously I go to work. Thankfully my job is it's kind of chill. I work at like a mattress store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I make commission on it, so I can actually make quite a bit of money if I do well selling wise. But if it's even like a slower day, I can kind of do whatever I want. I hate to say it like that to make it sound like, oh, I can do anything. But I can literally sit there and I can do push-ups, sit-ups, crunches. I have a couple of dumbbells at work that I keep there, and some resistance bands to do some like core training with too. If I know I'm not going to the gym that night. But most nights, if I'm there till 9, which sometimes I am, sometimes I'm there till 6, I'll just go straight at 9, pick up my buddy, we'll go to the gym, we'll be there for like 2 or 3 hours, doing cardio. I tend to do more all body. I don't really do focused workouts because right now I'm
Yeah.
just trying to get like a general like shape to myself. Um, that's mainly what I do, and then in the mornings, obviously, the morning after, I regret it every single time. Because I tend to try to go a little bit too hard. My ankles have been killing me, specifically because or not ankles, my shins. I have shin splints, and I've been trying to
Ooh.
work more cardio because I want to get that conditioning where
Hmm.
I need it to be. Um, and then when it comes to like days where I wrestle, so wrestle either on Wednesdays or Sundays. Currently with training, and my debut as an actual in ring performer is going to be in August. They haven't given me the date yet.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's right around it's crazy how right around the corner it is. It's scary, but it's really exciting too because I've been working hard on the character and like the presentation I want with it. Um, but I wrestle on those days, and then the next day I go to the gym, regardless of which
Hmm.
day it is. And that is yet another time where my body is telling me, "Don't do that. It hurts. Everything hurts. Your back hurts." Um, but you do it because you love it. Wrestling isn't ballet, is like the number one thing I will say with that. Um, People think it's fake, and in a way, the best word that you can use to describe it is choreographed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, because it is something in that vein, but it's not quite what I would call fake. Um, it's like if you go to watch a stage play. It's all pre-planned, but it's still something that you have to immerse yourself in, something you have to dedicate yourself to. And in a way, it's different because you still have to work off of different bodies, work off of different people, and work off of different ideas every single time. Um, so like after like a night of training, it depends how long I'm there. Usually it's like 2, 3 hours. Sometimes it's like 4 or 5. Um, my body will 100% be feeling it the day after. In the moment, I feel great. I feel phenomenal in the moment because it's one of those sensations where the only thing I can describe it as is feeling alive.
Yeah.
Um, because you see it for so long, and then you're doing it, and then when you're doing it initially, it's like, oh god, this is so hard. But I've kind of reached a point with it where I'm like, I'm okay at it. I'm not good. I wouldn't say good. Um, but I feel really happy doing it, and I feel really content in that moment. So much so that when I wake up that next day for work and then I have to go to the gym, I remind myself, hey, you're doing this because one day you're going to be the biggest star in pro wrestling, and
Hmm.
because you want to make an impact on that. So
That's
just keep at
hype.
it. Yeah.
There's only my entire adult life. There's probably only been like 7 months where I was actively like trying to improve myself, and every day you just feel so good. But it
Mhm.
turns out it's really easy to be lazy and just go for the gamer dad bod. So I'm working on that
Yes.
right now. It's getting there.
I respect it. Listen, you're pulling it off. You're making it look good.
I hope not. Nah, every day I'm like, man, I should try and get back into it. But if you don't go consistently, then it's not worth it. And it's so easy to not develop a habit than it is to develop one.
Yeah.
Now,
I
how would you
mean,
say the
even
size
going
is for your
inconsistent.
local scene? Because it seems like that's something that I don't hear too many people get into, but enough people are interested in it.
Do you mean in terms of like performers or in terms of
Yeah,
like
performers
crowd
for sure.
performers?
But
So
also, yeah,
for
just spectatorship. Is it a thing, a to do?
Yeah, it's an attraction, it's an experience. I'll talk about the spectators first, just because those are a bit easier to kind of think on. Usually the shows we've been doing, we get around 200-ish people, kind of packed
Oh,
into
yeah.
like a little like dance hall bar type thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an all-in-one thing that we've been going to for the promotion I'm working with in particular. But depending on where you go and like what you're doing, a couple of the promotions around the East Coast, like ECPW, aka East Coast Pro Wrestling, they can draw some pretty good crowds. Maybe in the range of like 400 people or something. which is nothing to like, sneeze at. That's a lot of people. Even
Yeah,
200 is a
yeah.
lot of people. When you're packed into a room like really tiny. I'm not talking like it's not like a small room, but it's not like a huge room. You ever see like a dance studio?
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially the size of like a dance studio. We have 200 people packed into, and then you have a 16 by 16 ring, and then you have two guys at least in the ring, and a ref. So you're packing in like a lot of people to entertain them, and try to put on a good show for them, and give them a reason to spend that $20 next time, as well as make them feel like they spent a good $20 this time.
Do you
Um,
think, and sorry to interrupt, but I find it such a polarizing difference where, like, if, for example, I got a big raid or something like that,
mhm,
streaming to 250 people is like, oh, that's not a big deal. But having
yeah,
250 sets of eyes, like a focal point, to me, I'm like, that sounds terrifying. To
yeah.
you, do you thrive in that environment, or is it still a little anxiety inducing?
I'm gonna be honest, it's all anxiety for me.
Oh, yeah.
um, my trainer, so like when we go through training, they teach you everything about pro wrestling. They teach you how to commentate, they teach you how to ref, they teach you how to hold a camera. Um, they show you the full ins and out. They don't just tell you, here's how you do the moves. You're a wrestler now. They don't do that. So the first show I worked in front of a crowd, I was a ref, and that was the one where we had about 250, I want to say was the crowd number, or like the number of tickets that were sold. Um, and I'm on the first match, which is for the cruiserweight title, and it was a triple threat, and it was very weird because I didn't know anything about the match structure because one of the guys that was there literally showed up the like 20 minutes before the show started, and he said, "I'm medically cleared, I can go." He was originally going to be in the match, but then they
Hmm.
pulled him because of like medical reasons. He like did something to his shoulder.
Ooh.
Um, yeah. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess this is my life. Because before that there was a plan, I knew about it, and that at that point I didn't know the plan. So I'm going out there. The ref always goes out before the performers, just so he's there to check them, check their like lights, stuff like that, make sure they don't have any foreign objects or weapons on them. Um, and it's terrifying to go out there, especially when it's like all eyes are on you in that one moment when you're
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out. Um, and it's not about me, and I can't make it about me, but I also stood out a lot as the guy in the ring at doing the reffing because of my hair in particular. It's very long, very blonde.
Very majestic.
Um, yeah, yeah, and I felt like I stood out a little bit too much. Because as a ref, you're really just supposed to be the background guy. But as I'm going out there, it's like all eyes are on me, and I'm like, oh fuck, what do I do here? Excuse my French. Um, I go out there and I'm like, okay, this is it. I just need to call the pin, and it's terrifying, bro. I'm looking forward to it a lot more in August because then I know I'm gonna be playing something that can excel in that.
Yeah.
Um, like my character is very centralized around just being the center of attention, very heelish, very like drama queenish. Um, and the intention with it is really to make people see me. And just be excited to see me get my face kicked in. Hopefully, that's the intention, really.
It
So
almost
like
seems very
that'll be a little
competitive in
better.
that nature that everyone, I mean, to make it, you kind of have to be very focused on and stand out above your peers in some way.
Yeah.
Is that, I guess, is it a healthy competition almost? Or is it, because I feel like people would definitely step on one another to get ahead in something like that because to make it big, you kind of have to.
So there is an air to that in wrestling. For example, with um like even just your moves, right? So if like let's say somebody in my promotion does a hold that I want to do as like their finish, I can't do that usually unless like I ask them. I'm like, hey, can I use this? It's a very political business in
Yeah.
that sense where like you have to talk to the right people to be able to do what you want to do. And for example, I my original plan for a finisher, which I might have to rethink now, is just running and hitting them in the side of the head with my knee. and I was gonna
Oh
call it the Silver
god.
Bullet, and it was gonna be really cool. I thought of like seven different setups for it, but one of the guys does that as like a signature or something, and he's like, I don't know if I'm good with you doing that, you know? Yeah, it's kind of something
That's
I
my
do, and
move.
I'm like, all right, bro. I've been thinking about doing this move since I was like 13, but whatever. You do you.
And you caved in?
No, it's I have to talk to my promoter about it and see what he says. But I do have like other moves I want to do. I could do as a finish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like there is like an air of that competitiveness to it because everybody when you go out, and this is something I've been told by every performer, um, you're going out there to put on the best match on the show, regardless of if you can or not. You're going out to do that, and that's always been the mentality I've had with anything. Is like if I'm in a marathon, right? When
Yeah.
I've done marathons for speedrunning, just to relate it back to that, I'm always going out there not to put on necessarily the best speed run, but to put on the best experience for people.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's
Um,
a huge thing too.
yeah, because I think anyone can sit and talk to the nature of a speed run or be like, hey, so Spyro's running and then he's charging and now he's gliding. But I think it does take a certain level to um, address a game and like look at it from an angle of like, this is entertaining. How do I make this sound entertaining while I'm
Yeah.
presenting it? Um, and how can I get people interested in doing it themselves? Because that's my ultimate goal with speedrunning in particular, is just to get people invested in um, doing a speedrun and doing like the games I'm doing and doing something in the Spyro series. And then again, that's the same way with wrestling. If I can inspire somebody to be like, man, I want to see this guy next show.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest win. Like, if I can sell them a T-shirt after the show, if I can sell them an 8x10, if I can, have a conversation with them where they're like, man, I really love what you did. That is the goal for me. Especially with my first show, I want to have a conversation with at least one person that said, man, I really, really wanted to punch you in the face the whole time. Or I
Thank
really,
you.
yeah, no, because like really, that is like the best compliment you can get when you're trying to play a bad guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Is like the whole like, man, I hated you, or like have somebody genuinely come up to me and say like, you are such a, you know,
I can
words I
think of
can't say.
who's like some of the worst bad guys are like, oh, you just despise even the actor or actress almost just because like that character was so hated.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
and
of
that
like what's the big lady in Harry Potter movies? Like, oh,
oh
she's the worst.
god,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I know you're talking about. Um, no, that is if that's what you're trying to be and you're accomplishing that in that way, like you're doing everything you want and more. Same way goes if you're trying to be a good guy, obviously. But yeah, that is definitely a competitive thing to look at, is like who is getting the most over with the crowd, who is getting
Mm-hmm.
people more invested, who's selling more T-shirts, who's going out there and again just putting on the best match on the show, or like putting on the best angle, cutting the best promo. Um, that whole nine that accompanies wrestling, like you're obviously gonna want to go out there and do better than everybody else because you want to be the best. And that's in life been a mantra I carry with me, is like if you're doing something, don't just do it to be good, do it to be the best.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way you're ever going to see constant improvement, because if you are confident or happy and you're saying I'm doing good, you're not doing everything you can to continue improving. And I think we talked about this before, but that does kind of in some ways become a bit toxic, depending on how you handle it. But
Right.
it's all about moderation and kind of figuring out like what works for you in that field.
It definitely seems like at your root you have the heart of an entertainer, which is super cool.
Mm.
And if you're able to characterize it, it seems, and this is maybe just my perspective, but if you're able to characterize it, then it's like, okay, it's a detachment. But some with like streaming and running and stuff like that, you're attaching value to your own personality,
Mhm.
which can be a dangerous pit for sure.
Yeah,
Because
for
I mean,
sure.
you don't want to just be a character. I don't think
No,
on Twitch and stuff like that, or at least most people don't.
it'd be very draining too.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It takes on a lot to like even just uh like try to get into character. wear the clothes, walk the walk, talk the talk, get into like that vocal intonation and like kind of articulate yourself and like present yourself in a way that's vastly different than how you usually hold yourself. Um, because I would say personally, I'm very low key. I'm very quiet, kind of to myself. I
Yeah.
can be very loud from time to time. That's usually when I'm with the boys, we're chilling, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like to random strangers or if I'm in front of people, I try to like kind of let them get a chill impression of me, and I don't try to like push that beyond that. Because that's just usually how I am. I'll be chilling in my room reading manga or like watching movies or whatever, or going for a run or something. Um, but when it comes to like the presentation of like a character, specifically like the one I want to play in wrestling right now, um, it's all loud, all brash, all bold, all the time,
Yeah.
and it's very in your face. It's unrelenting, and it's like, man, it is a lot to present and to do, um, especially when you're wrestling at the same time, which is like a whole other thing. Because you go into like this mentality of like, oh well, I have to be this character in every second, um, and you can't like let up. Like if like let's say I do a move and maybe I do a little wrong and maybe I hurt somebody possibly, or I'm thinking maybe I did. I can't just be like, yo, you good? You okay? I have to be like, if like I fucked up their arm, I just oh sorry, I have to just stomp out their arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You gotta
Like
play it with it.
yeah, yeah. I have to be careful still, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I don't just get to do whatever with it. Essentially.
I've thought about that, and like, because clearly it does well on like YouTube and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
it's just so not authentic to me. I've wanted to almost pick up traits of someone that's like a high energy caricature for online purposes, but I'm like, it's just not me. And I
Yeah,
think if you try that too much, there's some sort of artificialness to it that's like, eh.
yeah. There's like also that matter of like if you're on Twitch, you're doing that for a minimum like 3 hours or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Whereas like even for like doing it for like an hour in practice or whatever, and like kind of trying to keep up that face, um, it's challenging. It just is like,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, no, it just takes a lot. Absolutely.
Now, we were talking about it a little bit, and you've done a few speedrun marathons, which
Hmm.
typically, and I would imagine most people know this already, but marathon traditionally is a showcase of runs that also tries to raise money for charities.
Yeah.
Have you, I guess, did you enjoy them? Like, are you looking to do more in the future?
Um, there are a lot of them that I have enjoyed. I will say that there are some that I look back on and I'm like, oh man, I could have done so much better. And then there are some where I'm like, okay, I didn't really like that one as much.
For
Um,
technical reasons, setup things, or I guess just what's things that makes a good
Mix of
marathon to
things.
you versus bad marathon?
Number one thing is a good setup for me.
True, true.
Like if it's intuitive, if it's easy, if I don't have to sit there in the runner's room beforehand and be like, hey guys, I don't know if I did this right. Can you just double check this, please? No, I don't want to go live and be like, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, everything's on fire. Because I'm not unfortunately I'm not a very technically gifted person.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people in the speedrun community are. They're just incredible at like making these systems, and making these easy ways for people to stream. And then doo-doo brain Dylan has to show up to their marathon and be like, I don't know what am I do?
Yeah. And
Um,
necessity makes the best students, right? It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
figure it
yeah.
out, just put out the fires as they come.
Hmm. But no, that's the number one thing for me. Number two is like, who's your host? I
Oh
think
yeah, because the
because like,
energy there can be huge.
yeah, because I've had really good hosts.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, quick shout out to Soaring Sloth from FTLG. They are phenomenal. They
Oh
are
yeah, I
great
think I've had
hosts.
Sloth as well as a host.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, the best host I've had, and that is in no, I'm not giving any flack to anybody else who's hosted me. But they just did such a good job at
Checking to
like
see
kind
if
of
I've hosted you before. Interesting.
have you?
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't think
actually
you have.
have that pulled up.
Actually, I think you host me at Speed Docs? Was that you?
Maybe. I think we did like a co-commentary thing because I was supposed to
Okay, I
originally
think
take the
that
run,
was
but
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it
I
was.
definitely took a little hiatus from
Mhm.
running anything. So I was like, I definitely don't want to do Spyro 2 without having played the game in a while.
and then you had me do it without
Exactly.
explaining the
Like,
game
yeah,
in a
perfect.
while.
You're good at this,
It,
Dylan,
it went
right?
pretty well
Yeah, I
though.
think it was sick. Yeah.
It was like a 24 still, which
Mm-hmm.
considering my skill level, really wasn't that bad. Um, it was but those are probably the two most important parts to get right for me. Beyond that, I mean, there's not really a whole lot else. I mean, obviously having a good thing to support is huge.
Yeah.
But I don't think there are any bad things to support that are like actively a charity that I've been a
Mm-hmm.
part of. Obviously, I'm not
Very
accounting for
rare.
like
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not accounting for like that one miscellaneous charity that I've never heard of that supports something very non-kosher. Um but the ones I've been a part of, at least, that we've done ones for Alzheimer's relief, which in particular, that was at FTLG, not this past one, the one before that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite marathon I will say I've ever done. I'll go down and say that.
Hell
Um,
yeah. I was kind of involved on that one, so like, yes,
you were,
yes.
you were.
Boost
Um,
my ego a little bit. I'll take it.
yeah. Listen, you deserve the biggest ego in the world,
Oh,
Gaffey.
stop. I mean, keep going, obviously, but I'm
Stop.
gonna say stop so I act humble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, no, that marathon in particular, like supporting Alzheimer's is like something I'm really passionate about because that was what my grandmother had, as I mentioned a little earlier. That was what she was suffering from, and it's a terrible disease. And
Oh yeah.
any research we can do towards it or any money we can raise towards it, I'm always going to be for doing. Um, but no, like that's also another big thing is like if it's a charity I can personally connect to, I usually will be a little bit more involved in it, if that makes sense, or like
Yeah.
I'll feel a little bit more attached. Which is why like I will say that marathon is probably my favorite ever. And then you have like things like Spyrothon, which are more oriented towards a specific game or series. Like there's Crashathon.
There's a
Um,
lot of love and things like that though. Like it's people that are
yeah,
very involved, and I think that's
yeah.
super sick. Like we had the
That,
Sprash HD thing that Logic did for a little while, and that was
I
such a
love
good
that.
period. I love those. Yeah.
I was talking to Logic the other day about it because there's a part of me that wants to bring it back so bad.
It's
It
a lot
just
of effort for sure.
it is. I think like the problem with that in particular, if we can go on a tangent, was just like it went on too frequently.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
they did it like once a month, I think it would have been a lot healthier and a lot more sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to do it like every week, switching off Crash and Spyro was like, bro, what are we doing?
I
It's
mean,
a
it still
lot.
made it a couple solid months, but eventually you're gonna
Yeah, it
run
was
out
like
of one,
5.
people that want to do it again, or two, just even like content that's not just
Interesting.
repeating the same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like what my thing was. And like there were other things I think Logic tried to do with it. Like there was like a bingo or a quiz show that they were trying to do at one
Yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is a cool idea, but like I think like that takes so much to like do.
I'm starting to realize that might be my calling. I'm such a geek for like game shows because there's an inherent like competition aspect, but it's also just so lighthearted. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
need to figure out some way to do that. Maybe that's what the next GaffeyTaffy production is. We
That'd
get
be cool.
not Wheel of Fortune, the
Wheel of Speed.
live split of fortuitousness. I don't know.
Have some legs. I could see it. I mean, we've seen people do that before. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Kieran, ESA has done something actually very similar to Kieran, to the whole Taskmaster thing or
ESA
Twitchmaster.
did something like that. I didn't know
They did something
that.
very similar. I think it was ESA. I want to say that's what Kieran told me. They ripped him off, quote unquote. Not to call it ESA, but
Right, right. Don't worry, they ain't
allegedly
watching. They
that's
don't
what
know.
happened. They don't know.
Kieran's show
um,
is such a good time. He puts in a lot of effort in things that I think kind of
yeah.
goes unrecognized at some points, but
That's what I say, dude. He
mm-hmm,
like he does such a good job with it that like you can tell there's like a lot of love behind it. And
for
I love when
sure.
you can see that in a project like that. Having been the actual winner of season 1 of Twitch Master,
This
by
is
point
the episode of champions out
this
here.
is this it
Yes.
really is,
Season 2 champ right
um
here.
the real season 1 champ.
We all know in
You
my
know,
hearts.
it if you look at all the points added up, I just kept telling Sam to take points away from me because I was doing too good. I kept um that was actually, I think, a little bit of like the birth of me wanting to like be more of a bad guy in wrestling. Actually, oddly enough, if we can go tangentially back to that for a second, um, I was just being a complete and utter word I can't say because we're on the front page of speedrun.com. In that, because I thought it would be very funny because everyone else was so like genuine and kind of like kind and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then Prophet was kind of like sardonic and sarcastic a little bit here and there, but I just wanted to be the absolute prick of the
Uh-huh.
of the whole thing, and I thought like it helped add like a layer to it and help that show in a sense where it gave it like kind of character beyond just everyone's trying to do the task, and it's funny because Smartin threw an egg at a wall and it landed in the head. Uh, yeah. Um,
The
what were we talking about exactly? I lost my train of thought.
uh general marathon things, but Kieran's a babe
Kieran
for
is a babe.
sure.
I really want to do some real life marathon stuff.
I was wondering, are you going to be applying to the big stages? You know, the ESAs, GDQs, stuff like that.
So it's a little hard for me to do that at the moment. I actually wanted to apply to both this year. The reason I didn't strictly came down to the fact that I am not vaccinated and I can't really be vaccinated due to medical reasons. And they require you to have that at the
Right.
marathons, which makes sense. It's a big like gathering. I'm not complaining about it, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to apply to them strictly under that premise. I think they were accepting some like kind of you know not live in person runs,
Yeah.
but I would want to do GDQ and be there in person if I were to be doing a GDQ. So I was like, I don't want to do that without that because it's a lot of it's the experience for me. I keep going back to it. But I think having that experience and doing it live on like the couch or whatever would be what I want more than anything else. Not that I'm like a caliber of runner that could really get to the couch,
Right.
but it would be kind of cool if I did.
I
Because I do think a lot of like higher level runners are more prone to being brought there, like more prolific runners like Deo or Chris or um, guys of that nature.
I was just going to bring him up. I mean, Spyro legend, everybody knows him at this point, but I think Deo really changed the way that marathon presentation should be. Like,
Yeah,
because a lot of people, there's a general format that it's just like, okay, it kind of works. And you're like, explain what's going to happen here. But he just goes in and he's like gasoline on fire. It's just like, it's explosive. It's so passionate. And it's like I want to emulate that in some degree. It's
yeah.
like, this is something I actually care about. You're doing a prime showcase. And unless I feel like I can live up to even a half of that nature, I'm like, I don't want to be someone that's really showcasing something like, because
Yeah.
you got to make it like you're saying, you got to make it entertaining. You
hmm
got to show that you really care.
Are you talking about his ESA run in particular? The
His GDQ one, I think.
the GDQ one?
Mm-hmm.
I think I think all of them are great.
But
The
yeah, all of
ESA
them
one
are
is my
super
personal.
fantastic.
Um, I I think a lot of how Deo does it, which is a juxtaposition to me, or like some other runners in particular, is like he has that very long, arduous history with the game.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and his like kind of love and like passion for it has never really fully wavered to the point where he just doesn't want to play it for however long. Like he's been consistently playing the game for almost 7 or 8 years, so eh, I don't think I have something in my life that I've been doing for that long consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Like genuinely, like um and it to me that the way that he does it is a byproduct of that passion, a byproduct of the willingness to continue playing it over that period and then applying that passion to your commentary in a run cuz he does explain stuff. But like you said, he has kind of like that extra layer to it. He goes into it like a third gear almost with it where he continues to make you immerse yourself in the run, kind of by proxy of how passionate he is. Because whenever I hear somebody, I don't know if you have this. Whenever I hear somebody talk about something I don't know about, like I'm usually not interested unless they're really, really
Yeah,
passionate
yeah, for
and
sure.
like they're really into it. And when they are really, really into it, I find it so much easier to be like, okay, I love this. This is really cool. I don't know what's happening, but I love it. Um, and I think if I wasn't a speedrunner already and I saw Deo speedrun Spyro at that GDQ, if I watched that event, I think I would have 100% become a speedrunner in that moment if I had any vague interest in Spyro, which I did. Um, and I think like he did a lot for the community and like kind of the
Oh, for
overall
sure.
presentation of Spyro as well. But also, like you said, just in general, like how people should present marathon runs. I think there are a lot of, no offense to people, there are a lot of people that do it the same way, and it at a point I just don't care to hear. So you press this button
Mm-hmm.
to BLJ, you press this button to flame
Wahoo.
charge, wahoo, bing bang. um, and to me, like there is like a lot of like technical skill that goes into that, and like being able to articulate yourself and do that at the same time. But to me, it's just not as entertaining as hearing that like passion in addition to it, or like a mix of that. So
No
I totally
doubt.
agree with you. He definitely changed the landscape with it.
Now, I suppose since we're about an hour and we should give the people a little bit of your speed run, just background history, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So what is it that you're currently pushing or pursuing?
So I actually got into the 1545, which if you don't
Hey.
know, is a pretty dope little marathon, I guess. It's a marathon, right? Um,
Yeah, definitely a relay
it's an
marathon.
event. It's a relay
Mm-hmm.
marathon. Um, where you have, I think this time it's either 11, I think it's 11 teams, all trying to complete the Crash Trilogy, Spyro Trilogy, Rareware Trilogy, which is Donkey Kong 64, and then Banjo, Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie.
God, it looks painful.
Um, yeah, specifically DK64. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how people play that game, and that is the no offense to the game or like the players.
Oh, I
It's
love the
just
game casually,
it
but
looks
yeah, the run for it
painful as a
is
speed run.
rough. All the Rareware
Um,
games, I will say,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tui, DK, and BK is rough,
Yeah.
and that's the easier of them.
Yeah, that's insane to think about actually. Um, and then you have SM64, Sunshine, and then Galaxy 1 and 2, I
Yeah, I
think.
think so.
Okay. So that's the whole thing. Pacific.
Like the
I specific
ocean.
I like the ocean. Um I got in with 120% for Spyro 1, because it's the only max percent category I know how to do. Once again, I keep bringing up the name, but I was just DMing Kieran about it because I know he applied to it with Crash, and he was like, "Why don't you? You do 120, right?" I'm
Yeah,
like,
might as well.
"Not really. I'm really bad at it, but I can." He's like, "Do it." I'm like, "Okay." And I applied. I was like, "I'm not even gonna get in. I'm good with it." And then I got in. I'm on Team Orange. Orange Immaculate
Oh,
Vibes.
who's
If you
on the
wanna
team?
Rico, hold on, I'll tell you. I'll tell you my whole roster right now. Unfortunately, I don't know all the names because I don't know a lot of non-Sprash people.
That's okay. That's more who I would
Uh,
know anyway. I'm like, oh, who's on the team PlayStation?
yeah. So it's
Not anything wrong
Rico.
with Nintendo's. There's just too many of you.
There's two main Nintendos. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother was a Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so it's Rico,
Let's
iCup
go.
speedruns, Flygon Man. I just clicked out of the Costealer Aphid 18. I can't. I'm having a really hard time reading that name. General Toucans,
Oh, I
Marv
know
Youngs,
Toucans.
Tibbs, Bomber Cash.
Bomber Cash Money Flow.
Uh, yes, sir. And King J, um, as a roster.
Okay.
Um,
Is it like a
so
captain fantasy pool, or like how do they pick the teams randomly assigned?
I think that they look at like roughly the ideas of like where their PBs are, and then kind of
Mm-hmm.
try to match it so it's like kind of a competitive race. Um, I don't know exactly, to be honest. I just know it existed and that I applied for, and that's more or less it. Um, but yeah, I'm currently working on 120 though. To get back to like your main question,
Hey,
um, it's
it's tough. It definitely looks very tough.
it's hard to do fast. I think like I can consistently get around where my PB currently is, without too much problem. Um, but I think getting much farther below it is gonna be very challenging for me because I'm gonna have to adapt different
Oh
strats and.
shit! Ah, I just spilled water all over myself. That's
Oh, you're good.
yeah. I'm sorry. Give me one
You're
sec.
good. Okay.
Do 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 do
You want me
do.
to just keep talking or
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm listening. I need to attend to this.
you're good?
I just love to
Um,
kill my keyboards for some reason.
yeah, it's a recurring theme with you.
I know.
Um, So 120%, I originally learned, I know we mentioned him a little earlier, but specifically for Deo Man, I wanted to learn 120 because I wanted to do this funny race with him. Um,
Ooh.
which you watched it, I think, right,
I
Gaffey?
did, yeah.
It was
I had forgot about it though.
yeah. So it was like a challenge race where like I have a pseudo comparable PB, which at the time was like a 158. And he had, of course, like a 120, 115 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a pretty big gap. The way we evened the odds was by adding in like these additional little challenges. Such as he had to go stop what he was doing after he did like a homeworld and go fight a boss in Morrowind, or
Oh,
do 10
yeah.
tricks on a skateboard, or like make the YouTube thumbnail for the actual race video that he was gonna put up on his channel after the fact. And I thought it was really fun. It's something I want to do with more speedrunners.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the game, of course. Like, I was gonna think about talking to HypnoShark or Sam about it. And I would learn like Warpless and see if he would be game to do something similar to that, where I spend like I don't know a week learning and I get like sub hour, and or like maybe not even sub hour. Maybe we just straight out race it because I think I can probably get a 115 right
Oh,
now.
let's go.
Um, and he has to do like challenges between each hub or something because there's like 4 hubs in that game, so he could probably make it pretty even. Um, Depending on what challenges he's given. Um, I think it could be really fun, but that's the reason I learned 120 was to do that race with Deo. Um, and just grinding it since has been like I've been very on and off until I got into the 1545, and I started out really strong. I was really good with practicing every day and like doing stuff, and then I stopped.
Yeah,
And then I was
which
like,
happens.
it's hard. It's hard to keep motivated, especially with like longer categories. I don't know if you experience this, but I am a very much I'm much more so a trick monkey kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm an any
Where
percent fiend. Yeah,
yeah,
me and completion. I like
I
anything over an
sleep.
hour. I'm like I'm losing it. My focus, my care. So I see people like
Absolutely.
Cookie and Hammer. I'm like, you're going for 5 hours? Are you crazy?
hmm I don't understand how Cookie does like daily
You're
crash
right.
or 106
I
runs.
still never even got 106 casually in that game, and I'm a pretty big Crash Bandicoot fan.
I didn't even get 100% Gaffy if it makes you feel any
Hey,
better.
I don't think I did either.
Oh no.
Well, the
Uh,
percentage in that game is weird anyway.
I think you can get. Don't you get 100 after the clear gems, or am I
No, it's
nuts?
like
Oh.
56% or something. Yeah, because they attach it like relics, and then the perfect relics,
Mhm.
and whatever. It's just.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
Um,
I will say, so like with the Deo challenges and stuff like that, I think it's a little hard to make actually engaging, fun content in speedrunning. So something like
mhm,
that it's just so intuitive. It's so
yeah,
great. And I think you have this way of making really good content that I personally find admirable as someone that's maybe trying to find a way to be speedrun adjacent to just doing runs.
yeah.
And so like even your last the last video you did on your gaming channel or something like that, I
Mhm,
watched it. I was like, oh, Dylan put out a video. Cool. Let me see it. And it was
mhm,
just so well done. I was caught. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know you were making things like this. And so I was
yeah,
like, how'd you do it? He's like, oh, well, I got Kieran in. And he seems to be
yeah.
a recurring thing this episode.
Kieran is like when it comes to like me and speedrunning, it's kind of hard not to talk about Kieran genuinely because without Kieran, there wouldn't be a DylanJayFox in the speedrun community at all. Honestly, I would imagine because I had no idea of what it was before Kieran. I had no interest in doing it. I had no care for it. Um, but and then of course Kieran's a great editor.
You
Edits
do
for
be.
several different people, myself included now. Um, Speaking of that gaming channel, I got another video coming out hopefully
Ooh.
tomorrow. Uh, it's he's great. Um, Man, where were we? We were talking about speedrun J. I think like you do a good job with like having like speedrun adjacent content, even with just after the split though,
Yeah.
because like you are able to like kind of talk about the ins and outs and like learn about mentality and learn about
Mm-hmm.
how different people approach different things in speed games, which I think is like a valuable asset in itself. Is like adapting how other people that you see as like good speedrunners and seeing what they do and how they do it and how you can apply that to yourself. And you're kind of making it almost like educational in a way because you're presenting it in a form of content for people to consume and be like, hey, I really like Hammerhead Labs, or I really
Yeah.
like HypnoShark, who I know you had on here a while ago. Let me learn how he does stuff because he's clearly the best in CTR by a country mile. Let me see what he does to do that. And obviously with Sam, he's a bit of a he's kind of like Deo in a way, in the sense of like they've both been playing their game respectively for years on years on years, and their passion for it's never really gone. Um, so it,
It's definitely it's a hard thing to get into, and what the big goal, of course, is eventually because I do this, it doesn't make a cent. It's just a passion project is how it started out, and now I think it's giving people a platform to be more than just a runner as well.
yeah.
And I hope it gets to the point where people just enjoy every episode. It's like, even though you've never heard of them,
Yeah.
you want to come back. Because that's, I mean, I've definitely found myself in the same thing. You have like a GDQ or other podcasts. You're picking the episodes that have the guests that you know and that you like. But then you're like, oh, I enjoy this format. And so I'm always taking feedback. If anybody, chatters or Discorders, someone want to hit me up and be like, hey, I think you should do this. I'm always welcome to ideas.
I think you should get Amaranth on here, Gaffey. I'm just saying.
Yep. She asked actually, and I was like, maybe
Yes?
next week. You kind of gotta put in your world record time first, and then I'll think about it.
Oh, that's the criteria?
Well, for her, yeah.
Okay. Because I do have world records. I do.
Oh, do you?
Just not Spyro. Just not Spyro.
I've lost all mine, even my meme ones. I can't hold.
Oh man.
And that's when I was like, all right, time to start podcasting. I'm clearly not a great runner.
No, you're a good runner. I just think like there is like a difference between being like, and this is not to offend you. I think this applies to me as well. Is like there's a level of dedication that you need to speedrunning
sure.
that just not everybody has. Like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like for me, I said it before. I couldn't keep dedicated to 120 for more than a week. So, what are your thoughts on me ever having a record in a pseudo competitive game? And obviously, like coming out of the gates and having skill is important too. But really, what makes a speedrunner great is their ability to grind their game, the category, into the ground until the point where they're undisputedly the best, or until they hit that mountaintop or they get that world record. And then if they want to stop after that, whatever, that's up to them. But there are people, like I said, like Deo or like HypnoShark Sam, who just grind and get that record and keep going and going and going. And to me, those are like two of the best speedrunners purely out there. And that is not to kiss any rear end or to try to make them seem any bigger than they are, but they dedicate themselves in a way where nobody else does.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To their games, and that is beyond impressive. Yeah, and like another name to mention would be like Saboom. Obviously, in more recent times, they've kind of like fallen off in Spyro, and they're not really as involved in it. But like for years on years and years and years, they were at the top of all three of the original trilogy games. Which, mind you, that was before they were quite as competitive. But that's still a lot to like put yourself into and dedicate yourself to. And that's why I think like runners like you and me, I don't feel any worse than Deo or like any worse than Sam or Saboom or anything like that, because of the fact that I just play the games and I have a level I want to compete to. I have a goal in mind in every single run I do. Whether that be just to finish it, whether that be to PB, whether that be to grind my way down to a 1.4x in 120, for example. And once I hit those goals, like that is my world record. That is what I look for. Is like that dopamine of like knowing I got there and I grinded to do that. For example, like you were actually streaming and I raided you right afterwards. My 14 tally sub 30. With swim, which, as far as I know, I'm like the third person to get a sub 30 with swim.
Hey,
which is kind of cool. Mind you, it's still 3 minutes behind the person who did that at the best level, but it's still a huge achievement. It's something I wanted to do. It was something I was doing the baby route in particular because I wanted to prove that just with movement alone, I can compete at that level.
For sure.
Without like doing any proxies, because my run was also proxyless. The only trick that I really did was like swim in air or something. and then other than that, it was just purely Spyro 2 movement.
Hollow Knight's the any percent has something like that too. That I had Tax Slayer on. He was the number one at using this older strat, which
Mhm.
is definitely like inefficient, but he's still like I think up to 6th place overall leaderboard. And
That's
because
insane.
normally I think my brain defaults to I want to do the most optimal thing, but when I see
Yeah.
I'm not losing that much time because I'm doing this. I'm losing
Right.
it because in general I'm just not that fine tuned. So
Mhm.
it's inspirational to see for sure that like you don't have to do every single tiny thing.
Yeah. Because if I went into speedrunning with that mentality, I would lose my mind.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's too much to like look at all at once. And I think like if you play the game enough over time, that's where you kind of do adopt those like harder strats, or you do adopt those different things you can do, those little nuances that like save you like a couple of seconds here or there, but those seconds add up and you eventually get like a really highly competitive time. Um, but I think that that's something that you more so have to dedicate yourself to rather than just being like, I just want to speedrun for fun. I just want to
Hmm.
enjoy myself and I want to like not hate myself after my grind is done.
Now mine was definitely because it was my first speed game. I got into it because it seemed easy enough. Just go to 25 levels. I spent a
Hmm.
lot of time dedicating to Crash 2 on the Insane trilogy. And
Hmm.
eventually I just reached a point where it became very hard to progress. You had to put in a lot of practice. And ultimately I got frustrated and I dropped it.
Yeah.
What has been like your number one game that you think you've put the most time into or found most passion in?
Um, Overall game, I know that for the remakes, we kind of associate them individually.
Hmm.
But I'd probably say Reignited 3 is like the one I've always been the most passionate about. As a little kid, I was actually trying to find the picture for you for this episode after the split because I thought it'd be really funny. I was a little kid. The first game I ever got, and there's like a picture of me with it on Christmas, was Spyro 3. Um,
Hey, oh please, I
and
would
it's
love to make a little thumbie out of that.
if I find, I'll let you know. It's pretty adorable. But I'm just sitting there like wide-eyed grin, and that's something like I've always kind of carried is like that love for that game in particular.
Hmm.
Um, so when it came to the Reignited trilogy, I started on two. I started playing two for 2NE because it was a short category, and I went into speedrunning thinking I have a really short attention span. I am not going to be able to actually speedrun anything that's longer than like 20 minutes. Let me do this because it's like it's like 24 or whatever. It was like the record was a 22 at the time. Actually, it was 22:45. Um, but I was always like, man, I just love Spyro 3. I want to play that instead.
Hmm.
And I looked at the board at the time when I first started running, and there were 6 runs on the PC board. Hold on, and this is one of the things I'm really proud about. I will die by being really really proud about
Let's
this.
go.
So
I
I
love it.
started
Gas
speedrunning.
yourself up.
I started speedrunning Spyro 3 in 2020, like late 2020, and there were 6 runs. Guess how many are on the board nowadays?
38.
39.
Oh shit, I'm good.
You're really close.
That's a
Um and I'm proud of that in particular because I pushed so many people to try the game, which by proxy pushed more people to try the game and got a lot of people into it and really invested. Um and with that category in general, Spyro 3 any%, I loved it so much, and there was a time where it was the one game, one category I was like, I'm gonna grind for the world record in, and obviously I didn't get the world record.
yeah.
Um, as it currently sits, I'm about 5 minutes off of it.
There are some mad lads for sure in there.
Yeah. Insert logic, Doctor House, Toasted Cat.
Hmm.
Um,
Those are
a
those
lot of
people that have
insane
the
games.
drive.
Yeah,
And let me give a
and
quick shout out. Hi Schlongster, hi Bonkina.
yo,
The
um,
gang gang.
and I dedicated myself to those games quite a lot. But definitely not to like the extent of other people, and that's obviously why I never reached the heights I originally wanted to. Um, but even recently, uh, I've been saying over the past like month, I keep looking at that time in the category, which is a 48:52. Which before I started, the world record, by the way, was held by Wed, which it was a
I,
50:51. Wed SR. He's a
oh
he,
yeah,
he's a,
yeah.
he's an OG runner. From like he did like a lot of Spyro 2 and Spyro 1. Um but it was held by him, which currently that run that was world record is 17th place. And it's a 50-51. My time is a
Yep.
48-52. So 2 minutes faster than the old world record.
Let's
Kind of cool.
go.
Even though I use updated strats or whatever, and you know, like fundamentally he could probably beat me if he came back like without even trying. But I've been eyeing it up recently, and I know I can do better than what I have there on the board right now. It's just a matter of kind of convincing myself, and I'll always look at that run and this game in particular with like just like the most loving eyes I possibly can,
Yeah.
because it was my baby. It like fundamentally it was my baby. Like
There's something special about your first run, your first time.
yeah. And it's like that. Like look, I look at it with where I just want to see it continue to grow and succeed. Um, like long after like I'm done like speedrunning in general or anything like that. Like I really want to see that game just continue to be pushed, because having 40 runs almost on that board is like, it just makes me happy. I know it's not a lot compared to like other speed games. It really isn't. But for a remade Spyro game in particular, I don't think you can ask for a whole lot more, personally. And that's also only on the PC version, by the way.
Yeah.
Console has, I think, like 30 as well. So overall, it's like 70.
I've definitely already gone over it on this show and stuff like that, but I think the HD remake of Spyro is very underrated, which is almost too bad, because the original games get a decent amount of love.
Yeah.
But I guess, how did you wind up transitioning from an HD runner to an original runner? And do you have any preference for the two?
Hard to say. I think for Reignited, it's the same game, which is the number one thing I will say. It's the same game across all three. You have slightly different things you can and can't do in the games. Like obviously the power-ups you can unlock in Spyro 2, or you can't even hover in Spyro 1. But the game fundamentally is completely the same across the boards, like in terms of movement, what you do. Whereas with like Spyro OG, I originally got in with Spyro 1. I just wanted to do Vortex because it looked really cool, and I like tricks in a category. And it was roughly the same length as Spyro 200%, which before then was like kind of the category that got me into speedrunning. So I'm like, cool, let me try this. I started liking it more and more. Originally, it was very weird because like the way Spyro controls in Spyro 1 is very tankish. She almost feels like a car. And then I went on to try some Spyro 2. Double jumping is really cool. It's very different. The game is fundamentally just so weird compared to Spyro 1, or even Reignited. It feels a lot like Reignited, weirdly enough, but has different like camera controls and stuff.
Yeah.
The thing that made me really want to do OG though, overall, is just I heard that there is more interesting stuff that you can do, or like different cool movement that you can try to do, and I figured it's a different beast. It's a different thing to try to take on and be reasonable or good at. So I kind of tried all three games. Spyro 3 and OG was the hardest to try because there's a lot of like barrier to entry things that you need to be able to do, which are incredibly difficult, especially in the first hub. So if you can't get past the first hub, obviously you're not seeing the rest of the game. When it comes to preference, it's hard to say if I have one. Obviously, I haven't played Reignited in about a year now. In terms of actually doing runs for it, I would have to say just off of that alone, probably it's OG I prefer. But as I said, I mean, I keep looking at it and I keep thinking, man, kind of miss it. Like it's always gonna be there. I think like that want to go back and improve something I know is very improvable. But it's just a matter of doing that and being okay with like, all right, I'm okay with the progress I have here. Let me go do this.
It's hard to just dip your toes too, like especially having run multiple games. Like you kind of have to commit if you're going to try and play it at all.
Yeah,
and it's a hard balance.
There's just a lot more like nuance in OG Spyro though, I would say, compared to Reignited. Like there's a lot of like movement options that you can explore, different like little things you can do different. And Reignited has its merits. It has honestly a lot more tricks than anyone gives it credit for. It's way more interesting when it comes to like the weird like little janky things that you can do that you probably shouldn't be able to do. Like, yeah, the physics-based movement engine of like frame rate, like being on 30, Spyro jumps a little higher or whatever, or 90 minutes, like, and then Spyro jumps higher then too,
So
so you can make
dumb.
climb lists.
Yeah.
It is the dumbest thing. It should not
Thanks,
exist.
Bob.
But thanks, Toys for Bob. Um, but like, to me, like those are things like make it interesting. Then you have like a level storage, which to me, there's nothing in OG that even comes close to as cool as what level storage is.
Yeah.
Because you can fly, you can supercharge everywhere, you get all of the extra Spyro abilities. Essentially, it's the equivalent of doing like
playing with
Spyro
cheat
200%
codes,
in game
yeah.
Fireball. Yeah. But you can do that in a different way. So yeah, if I had to say preference, it probably would be OG, but there is like a lot of merit to SRT as well.
Now, I think this is super interesting because, especially joining into a game you really care about to become more involved behind the scenes and stuff, how did you come to be a series moderator?
To tell you the truth, I don't know.
It just kind of happened. I woke up one day like, huh, that's a sword.
Well, so I was for a while I wanted to be a moderator because I wanted to contribute to the games for SRT in particular. And then as particularly Zik and Nos were stepping down and stepping out of moderation, somebody needed to be a super mod for Spyro.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of in like the Discord. The mods at one point had a Discord where we would all talk. And they were like, all right, so who wants to be the SRT super moderator? And nobody else talked, so I was like, I'll do it. I'll be the red sword guy. And so they gave me super mod, and that was a while ago. And then within like a month or two, there was another individual who was a series moderator after Shaw stepped down, called Rui Tupop. We got along really well. We had a good rapport and stuff like that. And they were looking to step away from Spyro in general because they had a lot of stuff going on in life. They had, whatever going on. And they were like, okay, so SRT slash like these different sub communities kind of need somebody to represent them, because at that point every other series moderator was more so kind of more OG oriented, I would say. So when when he was stepping down, he was like, what about making Dylan a series mod? And
Ooh.
at the time, like, I was just starting to dip into OG too.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, so this is weird. I'm like the SRT moderator, but I'm not really playing the game. And I still have like a good rapport with like the community, and like I still keep up with SRT. I just don't play it really.
Right.
So they were like, so you're gonna moderate the whole Spyro series, and you're gonna be with Chris, you're gonna be with Jeremy, and somebody else.
So what kind of responsibilities do you have as a mod? Because I feel like they're almost behind the scenes too much. They're just in the shadows. You know that you're doing stuff, but I don't know what that entails.
So it varies, right? I'm also maintenance on the Spyro speedrunning Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of look at like a little bit more of stuff, but when it comes to just pure moderation, I mean, things like rule changes are what we look at. Things like, of course, verifying runs. If somebody submits a run to any game in the series, I can go look at it and verify it. Which at the beginning I really enjoyed, because I would go like watch like a Season of Ice run or something and be like, this is really cool. Like I don't know if they're cheating or not, but this is cool. And it gave me a reason to kind of watch them beyond just going to like the leaderboard and being like, oh, cool. That's mostly what like the moderators do, as well as like, we recently had the discussion about like Duck Station and like
Oh yeah,
how standardizing loads can go, and like there are things like that. When it comes to things outside of that, like looking at things in the Spyro community from like a more analytical or a more judgmental eye, it's something I try to do to make it a better place for people, if that makes sense.
for sure.
I think regardless of what the community is, whether it's like speedrunning, wrestling, whatever, you want people to go in and enjoy whatever you're doing, or like do whatever you're doing and feel safe doing it. And that's been a major goal of mine behind the scenes, is to secure the community as a place for that.
You would think that would almost be easy. Just play games that you like, and everybody has this mutual interest, and you just hang out if you want to. But there always seems to be some sort of just people don't get along.
Yeah. There's always going to be discourse between people and like disagreements. Like the load um the load discussion in particular with Duxation was very volatile, and it presented this almost like two sides of the community type vibe, where there were people that were very for it, very extreme for it, and then very extreme against it. Um and a lot of like what it's been since is like trying to get people to understand each other, and instead of arguing, which I think there is a very distinct difference between these two things, instead of arguing, having a conversation,
Yeah.
um, and kind of trying to see perspective and understanding like why other people see something a certain way. I think that is like really important to distinguish and figure out, hey, so this is why people want this. This is why people don't want this. Here are the pros, here are the cons, and then figure out something kind of in the middle if we can. And it's obviously it's not like a very black and white thing. It's not a very like, okay, so this is good, this is bad. It's a lot of trying to look at people and not letting personal feelings get in the way either. Um, just looking at what's best for the games, what's
Sometimes having
best
that
for
mediator can really help. I mean, as with anything in
yeah.
life, right?
Mhm. That's kind of what I think a lot of moderators should be acting as. That's why I try to do personally, is just somebody to kind of like play both sides a bit and like be like, hey, so let's chill out. Let's not like go too far in on like this person because they disagree with you about funny dragon game. Um, which, like you said, you would think it would be easy, but like there are some cases where people are just it's passion. You know, we're all invested in something. So of course, if we have an opinion and we're feeling strongly about that opinion, we're going to respond accordingly.
Right.
Um, whether that's right or wrong is, up for debate. But my goal as like a moderator in particular is to make sure that those discussions don't lead to like personal vendettas or issues between people or issues in the community, and rather just kind of let us all grow and like continue elevating the games and elevating the series.
Now, I think it's unique because obviously I started off in the Crash HD series,
Hmm.
and they actually have separated like the original Discord, which Discord's pretty much just the hub for any speedrun related thing nowadays.
Yeah.
But Spyro's chosen to keep them all the same or in the same server. Do you think that's a good move, or maybe there should be some separation?
So I personally we talked about this somewhat recently in the realm of if that would be beneficial. I argued very much so that it wouldn't be.
Oh
And the
no.
reason why I argued that it wouldn't be, and worded my discussion around this, came down to the simple fact that like we're all centralized, we all love these games, right? We all love the same series, we're all here for the same stuff. I know for a fact that several people would just end up in both Discords because they like
Right.
both
Yeah.
games. And to me, it would make no sense to separate them because then it creates this divide, which I don't think there needs to be. I think that there are sub communities of people that are more interested in something than others. For example, like there's a Vortex server that people go to race
Oh.
in together, and we'll all go in and race and do stuff, right? And it's like a little sub community. But I don't think that that takes away from the core of having that Spyro community. I don't think it makes sense to do something like that for like SRT and OG even, because I know for a fact that like there are so many Reignited runners that are really interested in OG, and there are several OG runners that are also vice versa interested in SRT. Um, and to divide that just to me seems needless, and it would make even more confusing for like new people coming into
Hmm.
the community if you're like, oh, so join the Spyro speedrunning server. Okay, I'm playing SRT1. I really like this game. And then you join that one, and they're all like posting screenshots of the original game. They're like, no, you're not on the right
You're in the wrong
server,
place.
dummy,
Yeah.
dummy, stupid head. And then you feel dumb, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to join this other server now. Um, so I am very firmly of the belief that like when it comes to a series like Spyro, when it comes to a series like Crash even, um, I think people need to stop getting in each other's faces about which is better and which is worse, and rather look at the fact that both games are equally valid, or both series are equally valid. Um, and everyone's doing their best to get the best times they can in these games. So why are you going to get on their case because they like something different than you? It just, to me, it seems needless. Like that whole like argument
Creating
of like,
issues for no reason.
I joke about it a lot. Like, oh, SRT bad or OG bad. Like I say it a lot just because I think it's a little funny. But like there are people that genuinely believe that. You know what I mean? And like they'll hop on like this like ideology of like my game is just better than yours. So why are you playing it? Just play my game. It's cooler. It's like no, just don't say that. Just play your game. If you don't like that game, you're valid. Like you can not like the game. That's fine. You can have your opinions.
You're allowed to have an opinion? Excuse me?
I know it's kind of crazy to say in the modern day. People are allowed to have opinions. But you shouldn't express that in a way where you're putting other people down for their interests because your interest is better, quote unquote. It would be like if I came to you and I'm an Ori runner and I'm like, Gaffey, you play Hollow Knight? It's cringe. Why do you play Hollow Knight? Ori's funny. It's a white rat and it does like jumpy jumps and stuff.
I like bugs. Bugs are better than rabbit dogs.
Rabbit dog rat 626 from Lilo and Stitch. Looking ass.
And yo, Chambers, thanks for the raid. Just as a quick reminder for everybody, we are getting closer to the end here. We're going to open the floor up to questions soon. So, yeah, hang out for just a moment. And if you have missed most of this episode, it'll be on, well, all your podcast platforms, YouTube, Spotify, next week. But yeah, definitely I want to cover a couple things before we have to wrap up here. You spent a little bit of time doing variety runs like Black Ops Zombies and stuff like that. Have you looked at expanding past Spyro, or is it still just too, I guess, motivating for you right now?
There are a lot of games I look at in terms of speedrunning. And I say look at because I'm like, man, that looks so cool. But then I have to go through the process of learning it.
Yeah.
And when you're comfortable with something you already know, it is, especially with like a new game you never played. So like, I never grew up playing Crash games.
Yeah.
And so like, there are two Crash games in particular I'm really interested in speedrunning. Namely Crash Bandicoot Twinsanity on the PS2, because I saw Rico run for a while and it looks really, really cool. And then there's Crash Bandicoot 3, which I just think is the most interesting to me personally. I know that's one of the more polarizing games in the series because of all the vehicle levels and people aren't really as fond of those, but
not me personally. I don't care for it, but I also know that 3 is, I would almost say, more popular in the HD, but less popular than 2 on the original, which is a weird change for sure.
Yeah. I was mainly looking at the OG for that though.
Yeah, it's a better move.
Not that NST is bad. It's just
Chambers will tell us otherwise. It's a masterpiece after all.
Yeah. I've also looked at games like Pokemon. I've actually done one Pokemon Fire Red speedrun to completion, but my timer broke most of the way through, and I was too lazy to manually time it. I was like basically right before the Elite Four, and the timer just stopped working, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Technical issues, yes.
Yeah, and those are longer runs. Like I told you, I'm not like a long run guy, but Pokemon's kind of a different beast. Where I could see myself maybe doing something longer like that, because I just find it interesting. Outside of that, I've also looked at like kind of B-rated platformers, like one in particular I just remember from my childhood, and I ordered on eBay, and I got a copy of. Actually, got it right here. Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island.
Oh wow!
It is like as B-rated platformer as you can
you're
get.
cutting deep.
Nobody knows what that game is. I've talked to like several people about it. Nobody knows what it is. But it's like, man, it just looks cool. I watched like a little bit of a speedrun of it, and it's like, I could see myself trying that. Then I also like Call of Duty Zombies speedruns. I actually want to do like some Easter egg stuff, but again, learning it and doing it fast, being on cycles and stuff like that, it's just hard to convince myself to do. So it's tough. It's tough. There are more games like, I don't know. What do I have behind me? Any of the kind of weird Legend of Spyro games too. I've been interested in learning because I think they're really weird and funny.
So Enter the Dragonfly soon.
Yeah, I already got that. It's been submitted.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Record
look
2.
painful at all.
No, it's a good game. It's a great game. It's
Great
fun. It's very
game.
fun. It's fun. It's very fun, especially when the loading screen's there for longer than the entirety of the boss fight. It's really fun.
Oh man. Now, do you have any games that maybe it's Pokemon that you don't necessarily plan to run, but you like to watch?
SM64.
Oh,
Well, actually, I can't say I
okay.
don't plan to watch it. All right, I can't say I don't plan to play it because me and Kieran were planning on doing something with that.
Ooh.
It's man, what's a good example of that? Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank.
Oh yeah, those are both
it.
sick.
Oh, trying to think. San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Vice City, even. Again, just incredibly long speedruns.
Have you seen how terrible those HD versions are?
Don't talk to me about them.
Oh.
Those hurt my whole existence. Gaffy, could I be very rude to you for a moment?
Yeah, go ahead, go off, King.
Could I leave and go to the bathroom?
I'm
gonna leave you and go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead.
I've had to go for the last 10 minutes.
Thank you. Anyway, howdy chat. I appreciate everyone hanging out. I know that doing this live is it's different, right? Like I don't get to quite interact with you guys because I'd be a bad host. But I'm glad I hope you guys enjoy anyway. I'm gonna real quick just plug the YouTube channel. I would love if you subscribe to the new YouTube channel, wink wink smiley face. And at 100 subscribers, I will be doing an episode on myself, have viewer submitted questions. Yeah. Well, thanks, Bonk. Thanks, Schlong. And yeah, it needs to be a thing. Oh, imagine baby Schlong and dad Schlong doing a whole 1545, just the duo. That'd be so sick. Obviously, Schlongster would cover the rare games, and you have Baby Rio do the PlayStation.
That is exactly why I'll never do long runs.
Oh yeah, unless it has a built-in bathroom break. Yeah, unless it has a built-in bathroom break, long runs are rough. So clearly the optimal way to speedrun is to wear a diaper if you're going to be doing something like a 1545.
Solo 1545 in several diapers. It's going to happen soon. I was also trying to think of other games while I walked away. Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The game looks sick. Motion controls.
Yeah. I also really like Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories.
I think I watched that cool. Spike Vegeta recently during a GBQ or something. Yeah, seemed fun.
What's another one? Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Just because it's really long. I would never run it, but it looks really cool.
I can't say I know anything about that.
That's fair.
But if it's on the GameCube, it's probably a banger.
It is. I recently bought my copy. It's right behind me.
Let's go.
Oh, right there. It's up there.
Definitely see it.
Hard. It's right. It's up there. It's hard to see. That cost me $200 because that game is very expensive.
Yeah, GameCube games, the inflation on it is insane. I mean, any Nintendo stuff really, but GameCube in particular seems to be just nuts.
God, what are other games I watch I don't play? Or I don't have interest in playing really.
Well,
on speedrun.com. Resident Evil.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm already calling it now. I'm a RE4 remake runner.
Are you? That'd be pretty dope.
When that comes out, so got that to look forward to.
Oh, Sly Cooper too. Sly Cooper as well. And Sly Cooper 2 is in the second game. Yeah.
And definitely shout outs to all my PlayStation runners out here. We're getting more representation, which is sick. I mean, the ESA schedule just came out, and that's super PlayStation loaded, so I'd love to see that.
Insane. I love how PlayStation oriented it is compared to the last few years.
In general, I mean, yeah, PC and PlayStation games typically just get kind of backseated.
Yeah,
because we got to see Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2, all the which they're fantastic and they draw numbers. So can I blame them? No,
but also it's just maybe
I like Jack and Daxter and Rack are just so sick. Yeah.
But they should have a more miscellaneous games block that they do on a day, and then have the main games, if that makes sense. But don't dissociate them, but have like a separate showcase, maybe even. I don't know.
Here's our ugly stephead. Wow, redheaded stepchild
Step.
section. Yeah, stephead. They got that dang old stephead.
Yeah.
But we are reaching the end of the show where I am. I like to do this recurring thing that I completely ripped, but I thought it was a good segment. The question of the episode, where I have the last guest ask the next guest a question, and Hammerhead Labs has left you with, is a calzone a ravioli? Yeah, very, very deep. Really, it's a metaphor for life.
It's such a hammer question, dude.
Uh-huh.
That is such a hammer question. Yeah, it is. It's just a very big ravioli. Gotta
Now, is a Pop-Tart a ravioli?
be. Yeah,
Why?
it hits, you know.
I
Are you telling
mean,
me? Are you
pizza
telling me you
hits, is
wouldn't
it
put some
also a
pots?
ravioli?
Would you not? Are you telling me you wouldn't put pots like Pop Tarts in a pot and put pasta sauce all over it? And
No, I
then
wouldn't. No, I can say that quite honestly.
that's fair. That's fair. I think. Hold on. What is what is a ravioli?
It's,
Let me
a
the
bit of
deep
carb
philo-
with stuffing.
Okay, it's not because it's not pasta.
Hmm.
Whereas I guess a calzone isn't either then because it's a dough.
Isn't
Well,
pasta
it's
just
pasta
a
dough.
dough? Hmm. Hmm.
That's a good question. I think calzone could be considered because it's pasta dough that they're usually made with.
But yeah, leave in the comments. Let me know why you think Dylan is wrong or right.
I mean,
Either way. Ooh,
wait,
and our heater question. Yeah, just I gotta divide things here. You got to get rid of one. Do we remove the HD Spyro games or the original? One's got to go in this
you wouldn't
metaphorical
you
world.
wouldn't you wouldn't have the remakes without the OG, so you would have to get rid
Mm,
of
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
remakes. Like absolutely, yeah. Sorry, SRT, you have to die. But
That's
then
all right.
also, I'm never speedrunning, so either way, I'm gone.
You
This
getting Thanos
metaphorical.
snapped out of the PlayStation universe.
I'm
Or
not
I guess,
feeling
oh
so good,
wait.
Mr. Stark.
Oh yeah, they're Xbox games now. That's weird. Technically, because didn't Microsoft buy the IPs or something? Or they bought Activision?
Yeah,
I don't know.
you're right. You're right. They did. That's stop. No, stop.
I
You're
know, it
confusing me.
hurts my brain.
You're
I don't
hurting me.
like it. But with that in mind, so what is your question for our next guest, who I don't necessarily have lined up yet, but should be in 2 weeks?
Um, this is a question just because I think it's interesting to think about like how you would approach it. If you had one speed game where like let's say you have no work, no anything else, and you've never played the speed game before in your life, which
Ooh, it's got
speed
to be
game
a
would you
new one.
choose and why? Because I think like there's like a lot of good games you can look at and be like, hey, like you can do anything in that day. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just want to speed run it for that full month, pretty much. You don't have to work, you don't do anything else. It's just you playing the game basically and eating and sleeping on occasion if you want to. Um, which game is that, and what is your goal with that speed game in that month?
All right, I like it. And do you have an answer you would like for that? If you don't, that's
Prob
okay too.
Probably would be SM64.
Yeah, I feel like that's the right answer. It's just like it's
It's
gonna
gonna be
do
cool.
well. The ceiling is
Hmm.
really high.
Yep. But also, I would never be able to play it for a month straight.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'd be there for 2 days and be like, I don't want this Maru hard.
Yeah, resetting it once again.
Yeah,
Fun.
fun. Yeah, no, that'll be the game, I think, or San Andreas maybe. I know I said before I
Seems like a
probably
cool
wouldn't
one.
speedrun it, but if I had the stipulation of, because I feel like that would keep me entertained. Like I love San Andreas.
Oh,
Oh, my camera died.
we lost the Dylan. Da, 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 da,
Oh, we're here.
da.
We're good.
Hey.
Good. At least I did at the end. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, probably one of those two.
Well, thank you for being a wonderful guest. We are going to transition over to our live question segment from chat. Anybody that's got anything for us or just want to give some feedback. But yeah, thank you again. Wonderful guest. I hope I did an okay job hosting.
You did phenomenal, Gaffey. What game would you pick, by the way, for that?
SM64, it's free. I mean,
But you
just the
played it.
ceiling being, yeah. Oh, I can't
Yes,
pick
you
it. That's
can-
right. What has longevity? What do I like enough? I don't know. That is a doozy. I would want something that can maybe evolve. So maybe like Trackmania. That game seems kind of cool.
Ooh, Trackmania is cool.
I've been playing
All right.
it recently for the first time, not on stream or anything, but
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, this game's sick. And I don't
Yeah.
typically like racing games.
That's fair. It's a dope game though. I mean, I've
Mhm.
watched like so many people like just play it casually. It's just so cool. I think racing games are honestly just a good shout in general, just because like they're generally interesting. They're easy to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, tell the people, where can they find what you do, Dylan?
So I have a couple different places you can find me on Twitter. As of recently, I'm back. You can find me at DylanJayFox, the same one that's on screen right now, just spelled the same way if you want to follow me. On YouTube, same thing, DylanJayFox. And on what's it called? On YouTube as well, I have another account if you like specifically gaming content, not anime. I'm doing like Pokemon related stuff. It's called Nine More Tales, spelled NINEMORETALES. To play on Ninetales because Ninetales is a dope Pokemon. And yeah, you can find me on Twitch at the link Gaffey's putting in there, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything else. Oh, and TikTok. I have TikTok at DylanJayFox if you want to watch anime shorts or TikTok videos on there. So I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else.
Well, that is wonderful. I hope that everybody checks him out. Dylan is truly a gift to the community, so be sure to leave a follow. Sub to the YouTube. It's pretty poppin', pretty good. I definitely aspire to be up there. But
Trust
yeah.
me, once you start doing it, you're gonna be past me in like a week.
Ugh.
I swear.
Maybe.
I promise. I promise.
I just need to
You're
hire an
gonna be-
editor, but I'm brokey.
I have one for. Why does it keep dying now?
I don't know. At least we get to see the jacket.
True. It's working. Are we good? Okay, we're good. I would also recommend following my other account, GaffeyTaffy, biggest fan, 69420.
It's actually popping over there way more than anything.
And thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys for chilling. I appreciate it. I know Gaffey does too, because Gaffey's the Pogger one.
I just enjoyed doing it. So the fact that anybody enjoys it, I'm about it.